welcome to Kingdom Community. Today is going to be a little bit different as we're preparing for school break. But welcome to Praxis. Praxis is a resource of 180. It's where we talk about our theology and how we put that in action. And we're glad you're here.
Like Ali said, this Praxis is going to be a little bit different in that it's going to be way shorter than our normal half-hour kind of thing because it's the 2-week break for school, and we as a staff are going to be taking some time just to go on a little personal retreat and to pray and to really be refreshed so that when we come back to school and to our regular schedule that we're ready to go into whatever God has for us this season.
Yeah, part of it is just because we're really tired, right? I mean, we as a crew are exhausted. So yesterday we had our staff training day, and we really went through some of the theology that really guides our overall organization, not just Kingdom Community, but 180 in general. And one of the things we noticed is as a community, we really haven't stopped working. From back in March, I think it was like March 14th, Ali declared 180 a essential service in our community.
Because there's real needs.
Super officially declared.
Yes.
We are essential.
I even made a little paper that said, in case our team got pulled over. Keep going.
We decided that the things that we offer in this community, they matter deeply. And one of the things that's really defined 180 and continues to define Kingdom Community as a community of faith is the idea that what we do matters in this world, right? We believe in a what we call a robust gospel, which means the good news is more than just what we know about heaven, what we know about Jesus. The good news is the fact that healing can come, right? That when there's brokenness in our community, that brokenness can be restored, relationships can be restored, things can be redeemed. And one of the things it just reminded me of is we're in the middle of a really difficult season in our world. We know that, everybody knows that. And that's not foreign to the Bible, that story of being in the middle of a difficult season. There's an ancient prophet named Habakkuk, which is a funny Old Testament prophetic name. Habakkuk.
It was number 3 on our kids list.
Yeah, Habakkuk is not a name you hear often. Yeah.
I couldn't figure out the nickname.
So Habakkuk's story is that he was watching basically the Babylon Empire encroach in. They were coming in and they were getting ready to take over Israel. And there was fear, right? There was fear that this huge thing was happening to our nation, and we didn't know what was going to happen next. And so that's Habakkuk's whole book, is he's prophesying into that situation, right, of this major thing happening to our nation. We don't know what's going to happen next, similar to what we're going through now. And actually in the book of Hebrews, so thousands of years later, maybe not thousands, hundreds of years later, the New Testament author of the book of Hebrews picks that up, and he quotes Habakkuk because the same thing is happening to Christians now. And he says this is a direct quote from this old prophet, right? It says, "For yet in a very little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. Yet in a very little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay." So this hope from hundreds of years before is picked up by this New Testament author. It says, we believe in a God who is coming, in a God who cares what's happening here, okay? Then he says, "But my righteous one shall live by faith, and if he shrinks back, my soul has no pleasure in him." And then this is the author of Hebrews. "We are not of those who shrink back to destruction, but of those who have faith to the persevering of the soul." That is the ancient story of the Old Testament, right? The first part of the Bible, brought into the New Testament hundreds and hundreds of years later, and it's still the story of God's people. And it's the way we've determined to live as an organization, as a community of faith, Kingdom Community. We are not of those who shrink back. 180. We are not of those who shrink back, but we have faith, right? To the persevering of our soul, which means we can walk through this world with hope. We can walk through this world with joy. We can believe that good things can happen, which is why 180 does what it does. And we've seen some amazing things over these last 6 months as we've chosen not to shrink back, but to declare ourselves essential and to engage. And some pretty rad stuff has gone on. Liz, you've been a part of some of that.
Yeah, so one of the projects or things that's been going on with Kingdom Community is this preschool idea. We've mentioned it a few months ago. Jared and Debbie did a really great job just presenting the vision for it. And really, this is kind of an update for you. We are constantly working on getting the application submitted, and it is hopefully going to get mailed within the next week or so, which will begin that process of we need to outfit the building and all this other stuff. But it's just been exciting. You know, the last couple of weeks I've been at Vinewood Preschool, where Debbie Heisdu is the director, just kind of shadowing and working over there to kind of get my mind and my brain ready for preschool. And I was getting really excited the other day just thinking of the projects that these kids are doing and how it can transfer over to the east side of town and reaching new communities and new families and what hope that can bring for future generations. So it's really exciting, the preschool stuff. I'm pumped about it, obviously.
Yeah, and think about that, you know, kind of going with that idea of we're not shrinking back. We're establishing a preschool. We shouldn't say we. God is making a way for a preschool to be established in a neighborhood that desperately needs it during a season of a global pandemic, when things aren't opening right, things are closing, and yet we're seeing paperwork be submitted, you know, dreams being laid, plans being made, dirt being shoveled. I mean, we're working on.
And we're also just seeing, you know, the same idea, the generosity of people in this time where things are short and people's finances are short. People are just being so generous with this idea that, you know, by investing in this, you are investing for generations to come, and people are catching that idea. So we've been so thankful for all of those who've contributed in that way too.
Powerful.
And the people who have prayed.
Yeah.
So we invited each of you a couple of weeks ago just to join us in prayer, and look what's happened.
Yeah.
Because there were things that happened that shouldn't have happened as far as getting permission from the city on the first try. So just pretty neat miracles.
Yeah, it's a great way of putting it. Things have happened that shouldn't have happened. Yeah.
Liz went back to school to get her degree in preschool education, and that is ending this week. So congratulations. I can tell all of you are clapping at home. Good job. She's been working. I mean, just think about it. COVID happened and she went to school. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Good job.
So one of the other ways that, you know, we at 180, you know, as we decided what we provide in this community is essential, is this idea of distance learning centers. Right now, it's the first time this building has been quiet in 2 months?
A long time.
Yeah.
So last year when COVID happened, our team, we met weekly and we asked the question, what are the needs that are emerging and what are the best ways to respond? And so that conversation stayed the whole last quarter. And so when we learned that students would not be going back to school, it was really natural for us to go to that list of ideas. And distance learning is now a thing. Liz read all the CDC guidelines, which was a lot, and came up with a plan. And we have about 40 students in 3 different classrooms, so to speak, between here and First Baptist. They come faithfully, so we have students, you know, in their little boxes. They can't leave it. It's like, there are all these rules, but they come and they get personal attention. They have a safe place to go each day. They have free internet, they have snacks. We have a reward system to really help the kids stay engaged. It is really hard for a first grader or second grader to stay engaged in their classroom online. And
on a computer screen.
We're really having to work at that.
I took online classes and it was hard for me to stay focused in my online classes through that. So
So we're actually having to create little makeshift schools, like classrooms. So how can we help these students really be invested? And so anyway, as a result of this, we now have several other churches, both in Lodi, Stockton, Galt, there's one in Sacramento, who have adopted that same plan, and they're really going into their community and opening up their churches in a time that when COVID is still, it's a real thing, and there's still safety precautions that need to be in place, but people are choosing to participate in that and come and volunteer in a really, honestly, kind of scary time. So it's just been exciting to see people move towards what could be scary on behalf of these vulnerable kids. And the principals are ecstatic. They just can't even believe it. They want more of what we have to offer.
Yeah. So what's really cool is many of you who watch this every week are our volunteers.
Yeah.
You are in this place.
And donors and prayer warriors. Thank you.
Yeah, hanging out with these kids, teaching them math, you know, brand new Common Core math, right? We're doing that online in a season of pandemic. Again, you know, as a community, right? Praxis is about how our theology shapes our actions. We believe in a God who hasn't stopped working, right? And so we're not going to stop working. We're going to keep getting after it wherever we can. That brings us kind of to kingdom community. community and the things that are happening with us. What I would say about that is just kind of stay tuned over the next several weeks. There are some awesome kind of just on our prayer journey, some really neat things that have been revealed to us, new people coming on board, new ideas about where we go, especially as the season of COVID, by God's grace, winds down. We're hoping that we're able to meet together, gather together in person, and we have some really neat ideas with Kingdom Community about what our next steps are as a community of faith. Integrated with 180, right? But again, as a community of faith whose primary organizing principle is mission, right? The reason we gather together is because of what God has called us to do in this city. And so that's what I would say, is just kind of stay tuned for what's going to be coming next.
Yeah. And maybe we as a community can just not only be in prayer about the things that are happening with preschool, distance learning, Kingdom Community, but the countdown is happening. We are voting within a month. Our neighbors, our friends, it's going to be kind of wild and crazy, maybe disturbing and sad. And so we've seen the power of prayer in the last year and a half. God has continually been impressing us.
Away.
Yes. So can we as a community take that every day, just to say, Lord, help me respond when people are hurting. Help me respond when people are confused and they don't understand and they're scared about the future of our country. There's just layers and layers of fear. So let's just commit to that. We have less than 30 days and we need to be faithful because God is. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So that's an invitation. Maybe, Liz, a practice, right, is to invite people to join us over this next week. We are taking the following week off, again, because we want to take some time to just, again, pray, recharge, regenerate. Let's invite our community out there to prayer.
Yeah, because even with the things that we've said today, none of that would have even been possible without prayer. They were all ideas, they were all kind of floating out there, but when we really started praying, we just watched God open the doors and the avenues that we were supposed to walk down, and it's been amazing.
Powerful.
Yeah.
So I want to close our time.
Maybe instead of a particular flag, we just put a flag in our front yard that just says, I'm praying.
Yeah.
What would that be? Isn't that I want people to know I'm praying for you, huh?
I'm putting you on that idea.
I don't But that's what I want people to know right now. I'm praying.
I'm praying.
I'm praying.
Yeah.
I'm praying.
Yeah, and we are, right? We're praying for God to do wonderful things, wondrous things, things that only He could do over the next little while. So I'm going to close us, if that's okay with you guys, by just reading that passage of Scripture again and letting it kind of be our charge over the next couple weeks as we get ready for what God's going to do next. I'm going to start back in verse 36. This is Hebrews 10. For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what was promised. For yet in a little while, He who is coming will come and will not delay. But my righteous one will live by faith. And if he shrinks back, my soul has no pleasure in him. But we are not of those who shrink back to destruction, but of those who have faith to the persevering of the soul. Have a great week. Have a great break.
Yeah.